All right. Are we live? Okay. I think we're live now. So today we're going to be building this PC that's being designed for a student going to school for engineering. So I expect them to be able to do 3D modeling and everything else with it. Of course, the student wants to play games too, so it has a little bit of power for games. So this is a budget PC build. Things were picked kind of like a compromise between cheap and good. Which is a good thing. I think total cost is somewhere under 600. So what we have here, let's look here. We have the AMD Ryzen 5 1600 processor, and that comes with a power supply or a fan with it. Crucial 500 gig NVMe storage. And ASRock, ASRock B450 Pro 4. One second, it's hard to look at the delay screen there. Then we have a Powerspec 550 watt power supply. We have Ripjaws, GSkill 8x2, so 16 gigabytes of RAM. We have this Corsair 110R case, and it's always good to look for used video cards because a lot of people pull them out of mining machines. We have a used Asus Strix, which is a high-end gaming card, 1070 Ti, with I think 8 gigs of RAM in it. So we have that as well. All the other parts are new, but this one we got used so we can save a bit of money and get a little bit more performance. A brand new card that costs about the same as this would have given us 50% less performance. So often you can just save a little bit of money, find a used video card because a lot of people are ditching them. There was a time when you couldn't find any video card when everybody was like in the bit mining craze, which has kind of died off. All right, so the first thing we got to do when building a PC, obviously, is get our case ready. So let's go ahead and open this thing up. Let me get a knife. Now, since this is a gift, what ends up happening is this box becomes, I put everything back into this box, and then when I give them the gift, they can wrap this box up, which is great for transportation and protection of the PC while it sits under the tree. And everything else. So, I might have to move. Let me see, what camera are we on here? I don't think I ever did an intro for you guys. Here, let's have an intro, and let's talk about what else we're doing today. So, for what else we're doing today, let's go to desktop here real quick. We've already done. So we're on this one right now, but we've already done the Prusa slicer profile for Ender 3 Pro, and we've done the Echo Sub unboxing, and next we're doing an Ender 3 Pro unboxing and build. Last, I might add something here. I might add, Prusa speed profile, and with that, I'm going to make a profile for speed, similar to what I did for the Benchy contest for the fastest Benchy. So we're going to look at making a 15-minute Benchy speed profile using Prusa Slicer. And I should probably just change that to Slicer. Okay, so that'll be number 5. But right now we are on this one. So we're doing this unboxing and build, and we're going to check that out. Let me get back to my OBS, and let's switch back to our stream here. Okay. So I hope you guys enjoy this. This is a little bit different than everything else that's been on this channel because it's not really 3D printing directly. But I'm hoping that this perhaps shows you, don't go out and necessarily buy a Dell. Although that's not a bad choice. It's not too hard to put a computer together these days. If you want to look for a YouTuber specifically who does this all the time, I'll Linus Tech Tips, I think is the channel. I've watched some of his channels. They're pretty entertaining. I've been building PCs since the 90s sometime, probably about 1992 is when I probably started building PCs. And a lot of things have changed over the years. Some of this newer stuff I don't even use anymore because I don't really build PCs anymore. I used to keep a lot of PCs in the house, kind of like how I have 3D printers. So I would have a gaming PC. Actually, I had 2 gaming PCs. I had a guest gaming PC. I had my gaming PC, just so I could set up LAN parties and whatnot. I had all kinds of stuff, and I just decided to declutter everything and get rid of all of that. And so I'm not really building PCs for anybody anymore, but this is for a nephew, and I decided I'm going to help them out. So let's see here. So this is the case. It has an actual glass cover on it. I think I see, whoa, there goes a screw. I see a plastic film over the glass. So I'll probably leave that there for them to peel if they feel ready for that. But first thing you want to do is kind of get rid of all these panels. These panels just stand in your way when you're building. And last screw over here. Just cutting away all the panels. I do apologize for the glare, but that should be gone soon. Well, maybe not. Just a lot of glare, guys. Let me see what I can do. It might be, I don't know if it's my light or the sunlight. Let me see what I can do about the light. It might be sunlight. Yeah. I can't adjust the sun. Maybe I can just adjust my position here and try to avoid the angle, maybe. So I removed the one side cover. I'm going to remove the other side cover. They're all usually held on with screws that are thumb screws, but sometimes at the factory they tighten them too much. And so just get a Phillips head. You're going to need a Phillips head for any kind of PC build. I picked this case because it has some fans already in it, and that way I don't have to buy case fans. When you're doing a budget build, you don't really have the budget for nice fancy fans and all the LED gizmos and everything else. However, the fancy fans and LED gizmos aren't really going to help his experience at all. It just makes it look cool. And then, well, so in the past we used to remove the front cover too, because we would put in all kinds of drives. It's interesting, there's like one slot up here for maybe a 5 1/4, like a CD-ROM drive or something. And that's it. It doesn't really look like it's configured to allow you to put any other type of drives in here. If you had a SSD, you might be able to find a way to mount it here, or there might be a method, but it really looks like it comes kind of bare. I'm also looking, I found it. Okay, so in the back is the SSD mount and standard hard drive mount. And it looks like it's going to make me take it out anyway. Let me flip it around for you. So they hid it back here. And here's your drive mounts. Also, on top of these, you have a drive mount here and a drive mount here for 2.5-inch SSDs. So these are your 3.5s and these are your 2.5s. So that should come out somehow. Who knows? I'll just do this. Okay. I'm not putting in any 3.5s. I'm not putting in any 2.5s. Everything is just going to be on the board. Looks like these are screwless drive mounts though, which is very nice. So if you did have a drive slip in there, you would slide it in and kind of flex the plate, and these little nubs would catch on the drive, and you would just slide the drive right into the slot. The reason I couldn't get that box out is because they actually have the nubs they have holes in the box where the nubs go, so it actually locks it in place. I don't know if they do that for shipping purposes or what. But if you were doing the 2.5s, you would remove this panel here and screw these 4 screws into the bottom of the 2.5. Often, because there's no vibration and no movement, with a 2.5, I only use 2 screws. Everything else is just really not necessary. Now let me see what I have going on here. Cool. I have some viewers out there. Who's out there right now? And the other thing I want to do, because this isn't working, so right here on my screen is supposed to be a chat box appearing, but it's not. So I'm going to remove that little chat box. Now it looks like the subscriber screen in the upper left corner is working, so if you're not a subscriber and you do subscribe, I would think your name would pop up there, and I would thank you for that. Alright, so in the box is a whole bunch of screws. These are going to be the screws that you're going to use to mount the motherboard, to mount the power supply, etc., etc. No, I actually don't even need that in case. So they're going to be everything you need for that. You have some zip ties for cable management. That's fine. Let's see, this is a standard standoff. Get one of those. These look like drive screws. They could be motherboard screws as well. Oh, I think those are fan screws. Last time I've used those, I think those are fan screws. Those are drive screws. The other ones, I guess, were motherboard screws. And then you get these washers here. So we'll see what's going on with all of that. I don't think there's anything else we need to do back here for now. So we're going to lay this on its side and look at what we have going on in here. Let me get y'all in here. So down in here, we have the cables are kind of tied up, and we need these out of our way because we're about to put a motherboard in here. You could decide to put the power supply in first or the motherboard first, but one of those two is going to do it. I like this case because they have all these kind of like cutouts for different cable running and stuff. And you'll also see on the case, right here, they have some writing. And it says, remark, A is ATX, M is micro ATX, and I is ITX. So on these screw holes, there's going to be letters there, and they tell you what what screws you're using for different boards. That's what this is. This is like a little index here. So you'll see A, M, etc. And so you want to use that and that extra standoff they gave you. Let me find the standoff. You're going to probably have to put the standoff somewhere depending on which board you have. So here I have 2 M's, but it's going to depend which micro ATX I have, whether the standoff goes here or here. So I'm going to get the motherboard out and see how it fits. Hey, how's it going, Black Cat? James, it does work as a gaming machine. It is not built specifically for gaming, so the video card could use more oomph, but it will absolutely work for gaming. What? Yeah. All right. And anything else in that box? Okay, so inside of the motherboard box, and I guess I should have shown you this. We have the actual motherboard, and that's in this sleeve here. I don't like to take it out till I'm actually ready to handle it. It comes with a book and a CD. We're not putting a CD drive in, so we don't need the CD. It comes with some SSD wires, or I guess for drive wires, we'll just go with that. And it comes with some screws, and these are for our NVMe So those are real tiny screws for our NVMe. And that's it. That's all it really came with here. So let's get you back up here, and let's look at what's going on down here. All right. So again, I don't like to necessarily handle the motherboard until I absolutely have to. So I'm going to take it out. It has some foam on the back of it. I'm pulling that off because we don't need that foam there right now. And all we're doing right now is we're seeing where these screws line up. We're not actually mounting it. So we're just setting it in, and we're seeing where certain screws line up here. So that's going there. And, okay, so I see some screw areas that we're missing some. And it only came with one standoff. So maybe these are movable standoffs. Let me just double check that one more time. Okay, that one's there, that one's there, that one is there. So we're missing one here, and maybe one there. So I think it was that one. So I need one more standoff. I might have to go and find my little box of screws and use that for the standoff. I can't even find the first standoff I put down somewhere. There it is. All right. So, look like this one. No, it didn't. Yeah, it did. Okay, so it was this one here. So this is the lower one of the two marked M. And then we need one more right here. I'm gonna go get a tool that's designed for removing the standoffs and see if they are removable or if they're just kind of welded to this plate. So I'll be right back. I'm gonna get that tool and I'm gonna get extra standoffs in case they're not removable. All right, here we are. So I have my little box of computer screws. Here goes the shield. But let me see if I can remove one of these existing standoffs. I use this cheapy thing I got from somewhere, but it has a socket on the end of it, already sized. It looks like they are removable. So I'm just going to take one out and move it over. One of these lower ones that we're not using. And the other thing we got to do is got to remember to put the shield in. You don't want to put in your motherboard and then realize you forgot to put the shield in. That sucks. Let me move these wires out of my way. Not stay out of my way. Alright. So the shield is just going to slide right in from the inside of the case, right into this square hole here. And you just want to kind of make sure it fits in there right. There we go. And the shield also has these little nubs sticking out on it, and they're meant to make contact with the ports. Sometimes they get in your way. Feel free to give them a little bend sometimes, but I wouldn't go too crazy. If you don't have to bend them, please don't bend them. Alright, let's see how our motherboard lines up now. And make sure we have all the screws in the right place. So you want to kind of go low to get your ports in line with the nubs on the shield. And you need to give it a little pressure now, because that shield is going to have kind of like a spring load to it. Now, all we're doing now is making sure that every one of these holes has a mount behind it, so we're good. And we're making sure that the shield is lined up, and we want to look on the other side. We want to look here at all the ports, and make sure that we didn't accidentally push like one of those nubs out in front of the port. In this case we didn't do it, but you want to just double check that, because you don't want to find out later that you have a metal flap sticking in your way. So this is the perfect time to do it. Now what's really nice about this case, and in most cases today, is one of these screws, and I think it's this one here, has a little lip on it which lets it hold the motherboard in place. If you don't have that little lip, you have to fight the spring power from the shield while you install the motherboard. Sorry, I try not to get this to absolutely fall on the motherboard at all. So let me just make sure I get this lined up right. It feels like it wants to be top heavy on me. Yeah, see, it feels like it wants to go over. Let me do that. Maybe that way, at least if it falls, it's going to fall backwards. Hey, Mr. Bootram, how are you? Okay, so we have a motherboard there. Really, we just need to put in some screws. Which ones I want to use for the motherboard, I don't know. I think I'll use these screws. They decided to go with black screws for everything. That's fine. Oh, these are different sizes too. Let me see what I have. So, taking your Phillips head, you can go ahead and just start mounting some screws. You want to kind of just get them down in there if you can. Let me find a different Phillips head real quick. I actually like this little tool I got. I hold the screw head with my fingernail just till I get it down near the hole, and then I carefully kind of like give it some slow turns until I feel it catch. And this one just doesn't want to catch at all. And there we go. And I'm not going to tighten it all the way either, because we need the motherboard to have a little flex, because you might find out later that a screw over here is shifted a little bit, or the hole has shifted a little bit from the actual screw location because of the springiness from the plate. And because of that, you don't want to tighten everything down until you get them all seated a little bit. So we'll go ahead and try to get that corner one next. I don't know if that corner is on screen or not. Okay. Feels very warm in my house. I don't know if it's because the printer is going or I'm in the sunlight. Or maybe I'm getting sick. I hope none of you catch it through YouTube. So this is a pretty budget-friendly PC. If you have more budget, you could go more on the RAM. You could go more on the storage. The processor's not too bad, actually. You can get a better video card if you're gaming focused, but really for Fusion and whatnot, they really don't take full advantage. And you know what I just thought of? So sometimes, and I should have checked this, sometimes before mounting the motherboard, you want to get this processor on. I should have checked that before I did that. So let me see if I'm going to have to remove the motherboard for this processor configuration. Some of them use different methods of mounting. So looking in the box for the processor, here's the processor itself. Pretty cool. Comes with a little sticker. We can put the sticker on the front for effect. And then here's the heatsink fan. And the heatsink fan is always the tricky one because some of these require like different ways of mounting it, and sometimes you have to have access to the back of the motherboard, etc. So let's see what we're going to have to do for this. So there is what they did with the thermal paste, which is interesting. I've never seen them do a grid like that before. And I do see that I'm going to have to remove those things, those little brackets there, because these screw in. Let me see what we have here. I'm going to have to flip this case up and see what I might need to do. And that's all that's in the processor box. Alright, so we shouldn't have to remove the motherboard. It is held in with a few screws here. But here's the plate that we're screwing into. So you see the 4 screws there now, and that's from the dummy plates that are already in there. Some fans will clip right to those existing plates, and some fans won't. So perhaps the lesson here is, before you mount the motherboard, just double check how your processor mounts. Let me see, are we in place? So what I'm going to do is remove this and this, so I can mount the processor using the fan that it came with. If you're overclocking, generally you want to have a different fan anyway, and that could use a completely different system as well. We need both types of shampoo, and I need Mountain Dew. Okay, let's look at this one here. And if I have it. Okay, so when I removed that, I heard the plate drop. That's fine. I have access to the plate in the back. I still shouldn't have to remove the motherboard. That's my goal now, is just not to have to remove the motherboard. In fact, once this heatsink is here, it's going to be this massive thing here. I'm going to put in the other screw here that's going to be harder to reach when that heatsink's there. Okay, and may as well do some more motherboard screws. See any other comments here? Oh, hey Paul, how's it going? Thanks for joining. Yeah, it's going pretty well, I think. Building one of these newfangled computers. There are a lot of differences these days in computers. One of them is you don't have so many drives anymore. My goodness, I remember when you had dual burners. You would have like a 3.5-inch disc. You'd have maybe a memory card reader, and then you'd have like several 3.5-inch discs, and you'd have all that stuff all wired up in here. And now I'm in the mindset of, okay, let's have a single NVMe. If more storage is needed later for other purposes, you can add it. But other than that, everything else is like on the motherboard. If gaming wasn't needed, I would even buy a processor that had the graphics built in. So I wouldn't even have a graphics card. They do that now. Some processors have graphics built in, and you can skip a graphics card if you don't need the power from a graphics card. Okay, this one wants to be difficult for me. Why is it always the last screw that wants to be difficult? The very last screw. It's not even kidding. Alright, let me see what I can do here. I'm just giving all these screws a little tightening now, since I have them all in. You don't have to crank these down at all. They just need to be snug. Okay. See any other comments here? What makes your hard drive crash? Well, the old spinning disks would have all kinds of problems. The new ones, I don't know, probably stray electrical current. Alright, so here's our processor. We don't want to touch the top of it too much, and we don't want to touch the bottom of it too much. So that means we're handling this mostly by its sides. We have a whole bunch of pins there. I don't know if it'll focus at all. But we just need to make sure that we align this right. Now, normally on a processor, you'll have one area with a triangle. You want to lift up the arm, and you want to look for that alignment triangle somewhere in there. And I am looking for an alignment triangle on this. So if you can't find an alignment triangle, it is often the, there it is. I was going to say it's often near, oh, there's a triangle. Okay, so very lightly imprint it onto this socket. You can see a little triangle. And when you set it in, you should just kind of feel it drop. You don't have to put any pressure at all. If you're putting pressure, if you're putting any pressure, you're doing it wrong. It should literally just drop in place, and you should see that it's absolutely kind of flush down there, right? So make sure it's seated. I mean, and it is seated. And when it's seated, you want to lower the lever while holding it down. And that's just to kind of hold it there, because when we put this heatsink on, it's really going to put all kinds of power behind it. So this next part is the tricky part. So this is our heatsink and fan. And it can go in either direction. It can go either this way or this way. But you can absolutely see that it's a rectangular screw pattern here. So there's a longer side and a shorter side. So the longer side is obviously this way. We're going to probably, usually the CPU fan gets plugged in over here. We'll double check that. Yep, the CPU fan gets plugged in over here. So just to keep it short, maybe I'll plug it in. Yeah, you know what? I like it better this way. This is a personal choice. You can go that way or that way. I'm going to go this way just because I want to like use up some of the wire off of this fan. If I go as close as possible to that port, I'm going to have a lot of slack wire sitting around. And this is where it gets a little bit tricky, and that's why I moved the camera, because I need to lift this up. Here's the plate that we need to have on the back. So we need the plate to stay in place. I wonder if it's sticky at all. I wish it was sticky. So try to do all this at once. Get the plate back here. And try to get the processor in there. And try to keep everything on screen. This is going to be fun. Maybe I should call a helper. If you have helpers in the house, that's always good. Jack! I might not get a helper, but we'll see. So I have that there. Yeah, I don't know how I'm going to do this one-handed. Let me try to get my helper again. Jackson! This is one of those things. Little doggy made yours bark. That's pretty funny. All right. You know, sometimes the only way to reach a helper is to text the helper to come down. Where is his phone number? All right. Helper should be on his way. So the real trick here is just getting this plate held up while you get that mounted. And any old helper will do. You could even, if you don't have the helper on hand, you could take some blue tape and tape it back there, because you just need it to stay in place and take a little bit of pressure. I just need you to hold this until I screw in the processor. So just hold that. And here we go. So I want to do it this way. And yeah, we're in line. I slipped. All right, this is not going to work out so well. I'm going to try another method. All right, let's do it this way. Let's, instead of me fighting gravity, can you hold under there and just hold that up? There, that way I'm not fighting gravity, and I can set the processor on it. Again, blue tape would work very well too. If you don't have the helper, I am fortunate to have a helper. Just try to go opposite corners. Okay, thank you, helper. All right, and here comes Doggy. He wants back in. My dog likes to go out just to bark at other animals. All right, so I have two screws kind of going. I'm going to try to get the other ones going. They are spring loaded, which is kind of like the hardest part to deal with. All right, we are in there. And I'm just making sure all the screws are down. They should stop turning on their own. They should, I guess, bottom out. All right. And plug in the CPU fan into the CPU header. Here, let's do this. Sorry you guys missed some of that, but there we go. Make sure this isn't falling anymore. All right, so we have a CPU fan in place. We plugged it into the CPU fan header, which is usually up here on most motherboards. We have another fan. This is for the case itself. And there should be a case fan header somewhere. I think it might be the one near the CPU fan. I'm just checking. Nope, it's this one right here. Now, this case supports RGB, so there's 4 pins. So you end up sliding the fan, if it's not an RGB fan, you end up sliding it onto the header without hanging off of 1 pin. So you're skipping a pin over. Let me just zip tie this up. This is all in the way. Okay, and some clippers. Clip that out. Boom. Alright, so we have a fan, we have a CPU, everything's good. Let's pop in maybe some RAM. So the RAM came with a sticker, which could also go onto the front of the case. It's up to you which stickers you want to stick on your case. And we're gonna, well, there was a note I saw in the motherboard box about the RAM placement. Sometimes there's special notes. So, alright, this motherboard, okay, so you gotta install it a certain way. So, essentially, it looks like I have to do A2 and B2. So A2 and B2. Yep. So it actually wants them set one back, right? It wants the pattern different. And it's a pretty severe warning. They said if you do it wrong, you could burn out your motherboard or something, which is pretty crazy. I would call that a design flaw. So there are little notches inside the RAM slots, and you just want to make sure the RAM notch is lined up with those RAM, with the notch. If you don't line it up right, your RAM won't sit properly, and your computer probably won't boot. So we're doing there and there. Just checking the alignment on the notch, that we're in the right orientation there. And you just want to push each side till you hear that click. And after you hear the click, you can just double check to make sure that the arms holding the RAM are all the way in. Alright, so that's A2 and B2. Let's look at some solid state drives. So, the motherboard came with these screws. And on the motherboard are these little headers. Usually they give you, and it's weird, usually they give you a, what do they call them? Shoot, I was just saying it earlier. A standoff. There is no standoff provided. So let's see if those headers are already set up as a standoff. Where is my knife? I need a knife to open this. Alright, so this one's marked Ultra M2, so I guess I'm just going to use that one. I don't know if there's actually a difference. I don't care enough to look in the book. I'm just going to use the one that says Ultra. So here's our hard drive. Now the reason we're using this as a hard drive is this doesn't have the cap that regular SSD has. SSD is capped at 500 megabits per second, I think this can go 4 times that. So that's why we use this as the hard drive and not a regular SSD drive. And some of these, when you buy them, you have to make sure they're the right ones. Some of them still run only at 500. So you slide it in at an angle, and then what you end up doing is pressing this downward. Oh, there's a standoff right already on the motherboard. I didn't notice it earlier. The standoff's already set up right for these really long cards. This is the longest size, and then there's some shorter sizes. These copper things are shorter size, but that's the pre-installed standoff. So if you used a shorter one, you'd want to move this one down to one of the other spots, depending on the size of the card you're using. Most of the drives these days are the long ones. So it comes with a tiny screw, comes with your motherboard. And what you want to do is hold that memory down and screw it in. And that's it. That's our hard drive. Alright, just check and make sure we don't have any more messages. Okay, so we have our hard drive in, we have our RAM in, we have our CPU in. Let's look at some of the front panel connectors, because once we install that video card, it's going to take up a lot of room here, and it's going to be very hard to work around here. And that's usually where our front panel connectors go. So, what is this? I think this is the new USB style. This is for, I think that's what it is. It's been a while, and I'm looking for the port that this would plug into, and I guess it might be that guy right there. So we'll just plug it right in there. Okay. And this looks like, it looks similar to the old USB style, but it's actually HD audio. And that's this is the front audio ports. So what this does is if you're using headphones in the front or anything else like that, that's what gives you access to it. So you've got to plug that into the right header. And so I found the header that said HD audio, and I'm just trying to get it plugged in. Okay. And then this is going to be your power switch and your reset switch and stuff like that. So we have reset switch, power switch, and power LED. And those usually go right at the corner of the motherboard. It's usually where those go. So I'm going to back some of these cables off and hide them. And let's see if they're labeled. Sometimes they're labeled. So it is labeled, but for me it's a little hard to see. So I'm just going to refer to the book, because the book will have a nice large diagram for it. So looking at the book, it is on one of these pages. One of these pages. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. Okay. So the book on page 27 is giving this to me. So we have here the power LED. Where's my connectors? The power LED is positive at the top here. And this is one of those things where you just have to kind of feel around and poke around until you get it to fit. And negative up there. If you hook these up wrong, it usually is not a big deal. It just won't work, and you just have to switch it. So next is power button and a reset button. And it looks like they can kind of just go right on top of each other. So power button is the one on top, and reset is the one on the bottom. So it really doesn't matter. You can even go, you should go even go sideways. So I see what I'm doing. I got the LED negative wrong. I went up and down, it goes side to side. It has been a while since I built one of these. Okay, and power switch right after that, and reset switch directly below the power switch. All right, we are wired up. So cool. Now what I'm going to do, because I have some slack wire in there and I want to get rid of it now, I'm just going to pull some of this wire from the back just to get it out of the main bay area, and hide it a little bit more. Now this wire is pretty stiff, so I'm not going to go too crazy with it. I'm just going to leave it like that. But the other wires I got out of the main bay area. And that will just help keep things looking a little bit nicer. Because we have a window. We want things to look nice. Okay. Well, they got little fan covers everywhere. Let's perhaps put in the power supply. Here's a power supply. This is easy stuff, guys. Do you guys build your own computer too? I assume most people who 3D print probably have no problems building a computer. Alright, so I did not get a modular power supply because we are working on a budget, and modular adds to the cost. And besides making the whole build look a little bit neater, it doesn't actually do anything else for you. So I didn't get modular here. I got a regular old power supply. It's 550 watts, so it should be more than enough because we're running very little stuff in here. But we're going to get this inserted. Looks like it's going to insert from, is that the back I have to insert it from? Or do I have to remove something? Looks like maybe from the back. So, maybe from the back. I might even get rid of this whole drive chassis. If I get rid of the drive chassis, all my wires can kind of hide in here. I just don't know, like if he ever installs a 3.5 inch, he won't have a place to put it. I kind of like the idea of hiding the wires though. What do you guys think? Should I ditch the drive chassis? Let me see how the wires look in here. And is that really what they intended me to do? So we're slipping in this power supply. It does fit. It's tight though. It's basically I have to shove all the wires up. They want me to shove all the power supply wires up through this hole and have them all sitting up here. But if I ditch this drive chassis here, all the wires can be under here and I pull up only the ones I need. I think I'm doing it. I think I'm pulling out the drive. So looks like the drive chassis is held on underneath with some screws. Wow, is it all these screws? It might be all these screws. Oh, it looks like I can slide it over too. Maybe I'll do that. No, I'll just ditch it. Maybe after I get all the wires, I might be able to find a room to put it back in. It's not critical though. Like I said, he still has room to put in 2.5 inch. He just won't have any room for 3.5 inch. and I think it fell out. Perfect. Okay, so we'll save these drive screws. I'll put them in this little bag that the screw for the NVMe came in, and that way he still has them. And lift that off. And here's the drive chassis, completely removed from the case now. And now when we put in the power supply back here, let me lift the camera for y'all. So now we have all this room to play with for the power supply. And this works out great because we almost, by hiding all the wires under here, it's almost like we have a modular power supply because we only pull the wires out that we need. So there's that. Let me put in the screws. Come on. Not too far with it. Is it sitting on something funny? Is that what makes it move funny? It's got like rubber feet that is making the alignment a little bit more tricky. I just need one of these screws to start, and then everything else should start to pull into place. So all we're doing here, let me make sure I don't sweep the table clean. All we're doing here, putting in the screws back here, just hold it in place. In the old days, the power supply was up top, and you absolutely wanted to make sure you had that sucker down tight, because you don't want a power supply to fall onto your processor. These days, these young kids have it easy. Okay. I should not need these screws anymore. Let me wrap these up because they're kind of getting in my way now. The only thing I would need a screw for is mounting the video card. But I'll wrap these up, and then if I need a screw out of here, I'll get back to it. All right. So I'm going to feed. All right. So first of all, I don't know if you guys, I don't know your level of experience here. So these are basically power connectors for hard drives and stuff. So we're not doing any hard drives. So all these power connectors for hard drives, we're just going to leave under here, tuck them away. Make sure it's all video. Tuck all this away. This is a video card connector. We are going to use that. This is a connector for the motherboard, and this is another connector for the motherboard. So we need all of these. This connector and these connectors, this is for like a 3.5-inch disc, and this is for old 3.5-inch discs. And DVD drives possibly still use them. I haven't looked at a DVD drive in so long. So these are the 4 lines that we need into the case. So we're going to see if we can feed them up through the little rubber thing, if they'll fit through. It looks like they will fit in. I was worried about this real big one. And feed the video card one in. This video card one is set up for 2 video cards. We don't actually need it because we're only running 1 video card, but we have to feed all of it. And then feed in the other, essentially the CPU power. The CPU kind of gets its own power. If you forget one of those powers, it won't kill your computer, it just won't boot, and then you'll be scratching your head. And it could be because you forgot to hook up one of the power lines. I think we're done back here, but I'm not quite ready to close it up. Let's go ahead and rotate this. And let's look at what we have here. All right. Make sure I don't slip here. Okay. So this one's the video card. This is the motherboard. They usually have this extra connector thing here, and you want to keep it all together. I believe most motherboards now require it. It used to be a shorter cable or a shorter connector, and they came out with this kind of like add-on piece. But nowadays everybody's doing it, so I don't know why they still do the kind of like the add-on thing. And then this is the CPU power, and it again has like an add-on piece because some motherboards only need 4 pins. And that goes up here into this corner. Sometimes it's hard to hold these connectors together and get them in. You want to insert them at the same time because sometimes they have little catches and things that make them fit the right way. And if you can, just try to get your wires out of the way as much as possible. This one I can tell is just going to be a pain in the butt. Another option you might have, depending on your case design, is you might be able to run out the back and up through the top. Let me see if this case will support that. Yeah, you know, it might support that. So maybe I'll do that for the for the CPU, because I don't want this ribbon running all the way across here. I might slide it through, around, and up and over. Let's see if it'll fit. This is just one of those things just to make this a little bit nicer. So, which connector is this? Nope, not that one. Not that one. This one. So all I'm doing is fishing this back through. I'm going to try to go up through the back of it. So, I don't know if I have enough height to do it, but we're going to try. So, came up through the top and flip over. Oof. This might be one of those barely makes it. Not a huge fan of barely makes it, because if you're barely making it, you're probably putting stress where it doesn't need to be. And what we'll do is zip tie some stuff up too later. Alright, so I came up through the back and I'm wrapping around, and guess what? It made it. So there's this cable, and it just hides behind the motherboard now. So it's not coming across here, because the problem with coming across here is that video card is going to be sitting on it. It's a long video card. It's probably going to come all the way over to here. So it's going to be sitting on it, or it's just going to be in the way. Even this cable is kind of in the way. We could, you know what? We could do the same thing. We could come out of this hole and do that for the motherboard wiring. Should we do it? Let's take a look. The more we hide, the better. So, same process. I'm just going to fish this back through. And so the only cable coming out of there right now is the video card one. And I'm going to come right out of this hole here and see if I can just flip this over. Uh-oh. The length might not be enough. Might put too much stress on things. You know what? It's fitting. Cool. It's tight, but it fit. Cool. Hiding these wires will just make it that much sweeter. Okay. Now look at that. Now look how clean that is in there. Now when he is looking through that glass panel, he won't see all that crap. All right, what do we have here? The Bearded Wonder. Hey, Sean. How's it going? Thanks for joining today. Oh, okay, the big, bad video card. And as I said in the beginning of the stream, video cards these days, unless you're really, really high on gaming, are best bought on eBay from people who have used them as crypto miners. So the people using them as crypto miners got rid of them really cheap because they don't want them anymore. And let's just see where these things line up. So the video card is going to, see all this room it takes? It's going to sit here, and you want to look at what screws you need to remove or what panels you need to remove. So we need to remove this panel here. Let's see if get that on camera for you. It was this panel here that it lined up to. It's actually two panels we're removing for this video card. And you want to save that screw. The panel will just lift straight up usually. Some older PCs, you had to punch the panel out, like you had to just break it free permanently. And the nicer cases have the removable slats. Okay. And we want to gently make sure it's in the slot, make sure it's in the panel, and lower it until it clicks. So that click is the clip at the bottom here, which holds it in place. We can't just lift it up unless we push that clip down there. So once you slide it in, you can't just lift it right back out, or you'll damage it. And let's get our video card power. And this is where we want to make sure our connectors are all in the right line, and we want to make sure it's facing the right direction too. So we will do it this way and get that plugged in. I probably should have it screwed down first, but that's okay. We are plugged in. And we'll try to clean up this cable a little bit too before we close up the case. Finally, we're going to pop this screw in. If it will go in straight, or we will force it in. Now, if you guys were here earlier, I started that Yoda print. Y'all want to see the Yoda print? Oh, you might see it anyway. Okay, so Yoda is printing right over there. He's in red though. It's a red Yoda. And yeah, the kitchen's a mess. My wife's mad at me because I didn't clean it. Instead, I streamed for your pleasure. So, next one. Woohoo! Okay. So looking pretty nice and neat in here. No stray wires anywhere. You don't want to have a whole lot of stray wires. If you can do anything at all to hide your wires, please hide your wires. This is the only wire really that's bothering me right now, but we're going to try to pull it back into the box here and have very little exposed. In fact, maybe it'll even be more efficient if we run out of this hole here and go more direct instead of across. I don't know. I'll just pull it back. So here we are, and we're just going to clean up this wire here. don't want to put too much pressure on the video card at all. We don't want to have too much downforce because the video card's already heavy. And I'll use a zip tie just to kind of hold back the secondary video card wire. And we'll use our handy dandy clippers to clip that zip tie. Okay. I'll also take a zip tie. We'll clean up the back here, I'll show you. So I'll take a zip tie back here. All these loose wires, although they're all hidden, I want to zip tie them up because I don't want, when the box moves around and whatnot, I just don't want these kind of flapping about. They won't hurt anything, but just want it nice and neat. So, and we'll clip that excess zip tie off. So that's that. I'm just checking, see if there's anything else I need to check for back here. I think we're done back here. It's pretty nice and neat back here. It could be better, but really for this is not going to be seen ever. So with that, we can put the back panel back on. And you just want to slide it back a little bit, like a 1/4 inch, and then get it seated and slide it forward. Sorry for the loud noise. Find our screws that we removed earlier and screw the back panel back in. Oh, I got a message or something. That's right. Let's see who's messaging me. Okay. There we go. There's our computer. Let's go ahead and put a front panel on it. The front panel is a little bit different. It doesn't really slide anywhere. It just kind of gets held in place by screws. So I need to find at least 1 screw or 2 screws because it will just fall down otherwise. In fact, this might be easier if you lay it on its side. Unfortunately, I did not do that for myself, but there is a plastic coating on this glass. I'm going to leave it up to him to pull that plastic off. I still want this, although it's custom built, I want it to feel like it's new, right? So here's the other screw. You don't want to open up something and then say, "Oh, is this used?" Okay. We might be about ready to boot this thing. I might start the Windows 10 install process and show you if I have Windows 10 already on a thumb drive. If not, we'll probably just stop the stream there. But let me see if I have Windows 10 on a thumb drive for this thing to boot. Also, you know, most people are like, don't put it on the side cover until you know it boots. Yeah, you probably shouldn't put on the side cover until you know it boots. I'm going to put the stickers on it. I'm probably going to put stickers right up here. I'm not going to use the GSkill. I think it looks tacky. But I'll use this AMD sticker. It looks pretty nice. And we'll just pick a side to put it. I used to have my own stickers when I built computers that I put on the computer too. Okay, so that's the computer. Let me flip it around, plug it in, get the monitor and stuff ready. see what we have. So. I'm not going to use his power cable. Again, I'm not going to use his power cable because I want it to feel new still. So I'm going to use the spare power cable I have laying around. All right. And do we get lights at all? I see a light on a video card. I don't see lights anywhere else because we have to push the power button. The CPU fan's spinning, the video card's going. I need to hook up a monitor to see what kind of output I'm getting. Very few people ever put a speaker on the motherboard anymore. You could put a speaker on the motherboard to listen for beat codes, and it will tell you if there's any kind of diagnostic warnings or anything else. I have a speaker I could use, but I only do it if I run into problems. So there's a monitor. We're going to see what happens here. Let me get my keyboard. Plug the keyboard into one of these USB slots in the back. Turn that on. And let's get the HDMI out for the monitor. Maybe, just maybe. I have too much stuff here right now. Just getting rid of all the package material here. Throwing it aside, literally. And then things that he might want or he can have, I'm going to shove back into the box somewhere. So we'll put the thing here. I need to get the monitor power cable out. I like this little monitor, man. I got this off of Amazon. I think it's still on sale. It's like a 15-inch portable monitor. And what's nice about it is most of these little monitors are meant as a second monitor to a laptop, and they only work with USB. What's really nice about this one is it has an HDMI input. Now, I've never used the HDMI input, so if it fails, then yeah, it's no better than any of the other ones out there. But we're about to try it. So I have a HDMI hole here. And an HDMI hole over here. It's tight. There we go. All right, do we have a signal? Do we need to reboot? Should I use a different hole? Let me reboot. HDMI, AS Rock, here we go. Sorry for the glare. I really am sorry for the glare. So we're getting in, and it says obviously insert a disk. Not a problem. I have two of these disks here, and I think on one of them is a operating system. I just don't know which one. So let's put in a disk and press a key. I don't even know if, nope. So the keyboard's working. That's a good sign. Let me try another disk. I guess I could put these in a computer and see if one of them has it. Ugh. All right, let's see if we can maybe reboot here. And how do we get into the BIOS? Function 2. Sometimes in the beginning they say hit F2 or hit F1, F2, or delete. All right, so let's look at some of this. So we do have the RAM settings in there, and I'm trying to angle this to avoid the glare. You ended up, yeah, it is a nice case. I do like the case a lot. So, and it's a budget case. I think like 60 bucks. So 3.2 gigahertz. It's got 6 cores, and it's like hyper-threaded. So it's like 12, processors, 16 gigs of RAM. All this stuff we really don't need to change unless you're going to like try to overclock or anything. I really don't recommend it. The DRAM frequency, it's set to auto. It really should be faster than that. I think it's 3200, but I'm not going to care. Anything else in here? Nope. Cool. CPU configuration on board, blah, 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 blah. We really don't need to worry about this unless something isn't working right. But more or less, like, you can go in and turn on and off ports and everything else. In case you're not using it or you want to free up some, oh shoot, I forget the name of them already, but essentially if you want to free up any of your I/O and input-output, you can turn off stuff you're not using. Looks like we have some easy stuff, NVMe sanitization tool and stuff like that. We have hardware monitor. We're running at 34 degrees Celsius. It's not bad. We have no load though. It is a included heat sink, so it's not really a super powerful heat sink. It's made just to be enough really for this processor. And then we have a chassis fan, and it shows us the speed of that fan. There's going to be automatic control of these fans, so as it gets hotter, it's going to go ahead and speed it up as it needs to. Some security stuff, but boot is what we're actually after. So boot number 1 is NVMe, boot number 2 is SanDisk, etc. So what we want to do is probably change some priorities here. So we will make that the NVMe, and we'll do number 1 as a SanDisk, and maybe that will make this thing work. And we'll just save changes and exit. Please tell me there's an OS on this disk. One of my disks has an OS. Unless I wiped it. I don't. Nope. Cool. We have an OS. We're set, guys. All right. So this is a free download from Microsoft.com. It's Windows 10. It is meant to be registered later, so it will nag you to register. If you never register it, it will continue to operate. There is no, oh, you must register. It's just like, hey, please register. So we're just going to go install now. Now, it's meant to be registered, as I said. The reason I'm putting this on here is because he's a student. He's going to be able to get a student copy of Microsoft, which I can't get. And it's going to save him money because everything about this computer essentially is coming from his parents. And I didn't want them to have to pay over $100 for Windows if he can get a student copy from school. And that's why I'm doing it this way. And I wonder if I should pick right now education. Does anybody in the chat know if I pick education, if I'm going to screw him up, or if he'll later be able to use his school license? So you see in here we can pick education, we can pick pro. You really can pick anything. Pro education. Let me do some quick Googling and see what some of these cost. It'll let him switch license at any time though, right? Like if I get him home education and then he goes pro, he'll be able to do it. Well, this place is selling Windows for 26 bucks. They're probably not doing anything fancy. It's probably illegal. So I'm just going to go probably Windows 10 education and just go with that and see how he does. Hey, Sholm, how you doing? Thanks for joining. So we'll do that. Hit next. Accept the terms. Hit next. Upgrade or install Windows. Keep whatever. Sure, whatever. We'll hit next there. The upgrade option. Oh, okay. So maybe that's not what we wanted. They tricked us. All right, I'll blast through this one more time. No, we don't have that. Windows 10 education. I don't know why they tricked us. Like, if they knew, they were going to say, oh, you can only do it if you have Windows already. All right, so we pick our drive. So we have a 500 gigabyte NVMe drive. You lose some space due to rounding and everything else. That's very normal. So we'll just go ahead and hit next. And it should start. Yeah, so AutoCAD, I'm not even sure which AutoCAD he's using. I think right now they're using Inventor, but he said the school was switching to Fusion next year, which I don't know if that's the year he's going or whatever. Either way, this should be enough power. If I had a couple more bucks to spend on this computer, I would double the RAM. I'd probably go to 32 gig, specifically if he's doing Inventor. Fusion, I think, will be just fine on 16. I do apologize for the hotspot on the camera. It's unfortunate. I can't do anything really to control that other than turn off the light, but I don't want to turn off the light. When in doubt, Google it out. Yep. So this is great that this build went along just fine. I think he's going to be thrilled with this. I mean, it's a great little computer here. I want to say it's well built. It looks good. I know the glare is just killing it. Let's see if I get close enough, will it see through? So it looks really good in there. The video card has lights on it. So everything looks real good in there. So while we're waiting, look at this little cute keychain I made. So this is Baby Yoda or whatever, and this is from Chris. You can find it on My Mini Factory, and I put a little hole in them for a keychain loop. Oops, I'm going off screen for you. But this is printed at 2mm or 0.2 millimeter layer heights on a Prusa Mark III. Right now on the Ender 3. Yeah, this stream's about to end. The next stream after this is going to be the Ender 3 Pro build. And it's going to be an unboxing and build live. It's identical to the machine I have already functioning back here. This is printing right now. Let me make sure it's on screen. I wish I could zoom for you. Zoom. It's printing right now Baby Yoda as well, but a little bit bigger than the keychain. It's going along fine. This is with the slicer profile that I built earlier today. It's the first time using this profile, so hopefully it's working out. Yeah, it would work as an ornament. Was out and about longer than expected. Yeah, it happens. So yeah, the little Baby Yoda is pretty freaking awesome. Good job, Chris. Go check out his model. I'm sure you've seen it. It's everywhere. Anybody who's 3D printing has seen it. It might boot. So it just did a reboot. It might be booting that SanDisk again. We'll see if it's going back to an install setup or not. No, this does not look like the same menu I saw before. We'll just hit tab, 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 and next. See, I think this is what we've already done, right? Or is this different? Because it looks a little bit different. It's been a while since I've installed Windows. It's probably been 30 days. Yeah, okay, so this is the same thing we did. So what I want to do is rip out that thumb drive. Probably just power down, rip out that thumb drive and see what happens. So if it won't power down, hold the power button until it does. Rip out the thumb drive, power up, and see if we have Windows installed. I love this little portable monitor, guys. This is awesome. Now when I have to build a PC like this, because I don't have monitors anymore. I'm laptop only these days. So every time I build a PC, I hook it up to my big TV, which is like a 72-inch TV, and it's always cumbersome because I have to do all that in the living room. But now this little 15-incher, I can do it anywhere. I'm still kind of near the living room. My wife doesn't like it. Getting Windows ready. Oh, and then I use this keyboard. This is a pretty cool keyboard. This thing, again, for like building a computer or just needing a quick keyboard, you plug it in USB. It's a wireless USB. And you just go, you have a little mouse there, so you can kind of like do this for like quick setups or even like Raspberry Pi or anything else you need a quick keyboard for. So now with that keyboard and this monitor, I'm set to go. It rebooted again. Let's hope that was an intended reboot and that we're not in a reboot cycle of death. Hey, I just heard my ice maker. So I almost streamed it, but in one of those 15-minute breaks, I put in a brand new ice maker in the fridge because the old one blew. So the wife is going to be happy that I put a new ice maker in. It says just a moment. Maybe I'll kill this or something. It's a little bit better. No. Let's see. Okay, might be a little bit better. Okay, so it's asking where I'm at. I'm at United States, so I'm just going to push enter. US, sure. Want to add a second keyboard layout? No, so I'll skip. Ethernet, not connected. You know, I didn't think about adding a Wi-Fi to this. I wonder if he's going to want Wi-Fi. Let me go get an Ethernet cable, because I do have one of those. I should have thought about Wi-Fi. He might want one. Alright, I have an Ethernet cable. Plug it in here, and we will plug it in here. We'll need to connect to network. So let's hit next, see what it does. My network should allow it to connect over Ethernet with no hiccups. Sign in with Microsoft. I don't think we want to do that. How can I skip this? Maybe next? Maybe there's a way to skip this, because I don't have his Microsoft. Yeah, it says I should be able to skip it. Maybe join domain. Okay, who's going to use it? I hope I spell it right. Password. The password is password. Everybody know that. Password. Security question. 1 of 3. Pet's first name. Security question. 2 of 3. City you were born. I don't know where he was born. Don't know that. Don't know. Alright. So, I think city you were born is going to be the same. Will it complain? Childhood nickname. Alright. If you want timeline and other Windows features, blah blah blah, blah blah blah, blah blah blah. No, we don't want to send Microsoft our activity history. So we're going to pick no here. Get help from your digital assistant, Cortana. I guess he can do that. I don't know. I Wi-Fi my computer. I don't like DSL. Yeah, DSL sucks. Inking, typing, tailored experiences, location. So, let me see, do I have mouse? Yeah, cool. Advertising ID. Frick, no. He should not lose his device. This is a big box. Well, he's going to have to talk to it anyway to use that anyway, so that's fine. All right. Hi. I think we're in, guys. It wasn't that easy. I sure hope Dylan isn't watching this stream. Hey Dylan, guess what your parents got you? Hey Sean, how are you doing? I just saw you joined. So that's it. We built a computer. We installed Windows. What else did we do? I don't know. I guess that's all we really did. So up next should be an Ender 3 build. And we added another event next after that. I'm going to go through and show you how to set up a slicer to get the fastest speed, or it won't be the fastest speed, there's always another trick, but to absolutely get the fastest speed you can out of your slicer and to possibly hit 15 minutes on a Benchy. But it looks like we're logged into Windows here. Now, because we installed this without a product key, in a few days, a little message is going to show up down here that says, please activate this Windows copy. It doesn't force you to do anything. It just pops up that message. It's like a little nag. And that message will be there even if you're playing a game or anything else in the computer. However, like I said, he's going to a school. He's going to be able to get Windows cheaper than I can. So hopefully once he gets to the school and gets everything set up, he can come in and register the computer with a proper product key. But that's it. He's got Windows, man. Power, shut down. We're going to shut it down, box it up. We're pretty much done unless I decide to add Wi-Fi. But I might even, if I do Wi-Fi, I might even just give him a USB stick and throw it in there. I might have one laying around somewhere. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Alright guys, so that's it. Like I said, tune in later. If you like what you're watching, go ahead and hit subscribe and hit the bell button so it'll tell you when I'm online again. It'll probably be about 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes. I have a lot of junk here I have to clean up from this build before I start the next build. So hit the bell button or check back in about 20 minutes to see if I'm back online for the next part of the day. This is a day of streaming. Hopefully 5 live streams going today. We'll see how it goes. So with that, I do thank you for watching. I am wearing my I Print Plastic Crap shirt, but thank you very much for watching. And I'm going to clean this mess up and get ready for the next stream for you guys. So talk to you later. Let's go to end stream here. End stream.